happen.
All right, we are.
I clicked on the agenda and my picture of the meeting went away. I don't know how to bring that back.
All right, I think we are up and running. I'd like to welcome everybody to our first LGBTQ+ History Month kickoff here with a group of wonderful, amazing folks who have come together for us to celebrate this month, to celebrate our community, to really appreciate and embrace the diversity that exists in our community, and especially with our LGBTQ community. And so we're so grateful to everybody who's here with us. My name is Faris Sabbah. My pronouns are he and him. And I'm really excited to be your master of ceremonies today as we take you on a little journey that is going to take you through some opportunities to hear from our students. We're going to hear from some of our local community leaders, and also we're going to have an opportunity to learn about a new challenge, a challenge for us to learn about different folks that have made an amazing contribution to our history and to our community. Before we continue, I'd like to announce to everybody that we have translation in Spanish. Tenemos traducción al español. If you see a globe in the bottom right corner and you want to switch the language to Spanish to hear the audio in Spanish, you're able to do that. Van a ver un globo en la parte inferior de la página. Si tocan eso van a poder cambiar el idioma al español si quieren participar y escuchar esta presentación en español. We want to make sure that our presentation is accessible and to everybody in our community. Queremos asegurarnos que nuestra presentación hoy es accesible a todos que están en la comunidad. We have a wonderful translator today, Jessica Serna Castañeda, who is helping us with interpreting today, and we're very grateful to her. Estamos muy agradecidos con Jessica Serna Castañeda, que nos acompaña para ser como nuestra intérprete y agradecidos en que está proviendo el lenguaje al español. So my first step today is going to be to welcome somebody who is known in our community as an amazing leader who leads at the Diversity Center. And I'd like to welcome Sharon Papo, who is the Executive Director of the Diversity Center. And Sharon, I'd like you to join me. I was hoping you could introduce yourself and share with us your pronouns, but also tell us why it's important for us today to when we introduce ourselves, to use our pronouns.
Hello, I'm Sharon Papo from the Diversity Center, and welcome any and all. And first of all, I want to say how incredibly excited I am that this is happening. And I think about how my life and my identity would have been different if my school had something like this when I was growing up. So it warms my heart, and I'm so proud of our community and the County Office of Education and everyone who worked so hard to make this happen. So thank you. And pronouns are so important because it's a way of honoring and acknowledging someone. And when we all share our pronouns, then we're not making it hard or awkward or othering for people who might use they, them pronouns, or not have to give someone a chance to guess their pronouns. And so I think that it's just a way of being respectful of all people, and especially people who are trans and non-binary, and it's a way of being a strong ally. I want to share that I am so excited about talking about LGBTQ history, because for me, it really helps to know that behind me is an incredibly strong and proud history of LGBTQ+ people. And, you know, if they can do it, so can we. And so we all stand on really incredible shoulders. And I also know that by knowing our history, it shows us the distances we have traveled and how far we have left to go. So I think this event is really important, and I'm just So delighted, and thank you for holding this space.
Sharon, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your leadership. You represent such a powerful force, a powerful voice in the fight for against discrimination, in the fight for equity, in the fight for embracing and respecting and uplifting the voices of our LGBT community. So thank you for joining us today. I couldn't imagine having an event like this without your presence and your participation. And thank you for all the great partnerships and programs and services that the Diversity Center offers to our community. It is time for us now to switch gears and talk to our students, because nothing is more important to us at the County Office of Education, and in education, nothing is as important as our student voices. And I do want to give a huge welcome to all the students that have joined us as attendees, our students who are here as panelists. Thank you for being a part of this event. Thank you for reminding us what this is all about, what education is all about, what our work is when it comes to social justice is all about. It is such an honor to be able to share the space with you, to hear your voices, and for you to tell us your stories. And today, I'm really excited to share that we have 3 students that are going to be speaking to us. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and also introduce themselves with their pronouns. And then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about what it's been like during COVID-19 and other pieces. So I'm going to start with Q. Q, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Q. My pronouns are they, he, and I'm a student at Scotts Valley High School.
Thank you so much for joining us, Q. And Reyes, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Hello, my name is Reyes. I go by he, they pronouns, and I'm a junior at San Lorenzo Valley High School.
Wonderful. And I think that I don't see Simone here with us today, but I'm going to... Oh, wonderful, Simone, thank you. Simone, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Simone Gettleman. I go by she, they pronouns, and I go to the Opal Push program in Santa Cruz.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And so I'd like to open a question to students. One of the things that has changed our lives so much has been this COVID-19 epidemic. It has been transformative in so many ways, affecting every aspect of our lives. And so I'd like to open this question up to our students. What has it been like as you've been experiencing COVID-19? A lot of our students have talked about the sense of isolation that it has given them. We know that students have a lot of safety nets at schools, a lot of support systems at schools and in their friend community. What has it been like as an LGBTQ youth experiencing and going through COVID-19? How has it impacted you? And who would like to start?
I guess I'll go first. I am very lucky to have extremely supportive parents, and staying at home has actually been very good for me mentally. I'm actually able to dress and be who I want to be, unlike at school where I have to refrain from doing that without getting hurt, because the place I go to school is not necessarily the safest for me. It's definitely been hard doing outreach work and trying to get in contact with other students who aren't as fortunate as I am. So that's one of the challenges I have, and also trying to communicate with other friends and other classmates.
Thank you so much, Reyes, for sharing that and the challenges of being in school. Simone, could you tell us a little bit about what your experience has been?
So I go to the center in downtown, and it's nice. I have some kids. There are some kids there, and I've been doing pretty well during COVID. I mean, it's not very convenient, but it's okay.
Thank you so much, Simone. And it sounds like you have a network of folks that you connect with that you're able to continue to connect with during this time.
Yeah.
Q, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your experience during COVID-19.
Social distancing school has been pretty tricky and hard to focus, but I'm still getting chances to interact with my friends and with other members of the community through my school's GSA club, as well as the upcoming student summit, which I'm going to post a link about in the chat in a minute. But one of the things that Zoom has made, being distance has made a little bit trickier, was coming out to my teachers. It was kind of awkward to do that over email, but some of the things that have been going really well are a very unexpected nice thing that happened, which is that I don't have to worry about which bathroom or which locker room I'm going to use this year. So some pretty bad things have been happening, but there are small good things that have come out of it too.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and telling us about you coming out to your teachers through email. Tell me a little bit about what kinds of support systems. How are you able to connect with your friends? How are you able to get the support that you need right now? Q.
Well, Zoom is always important. I have D&D sessions with some of my friends online. We've been hanging out in person with masks 6 feet apart, and mostly online though, yeah.
You know, today we're celebrating LGBTQ history, and we're starting a whole month of learning about, you know, historical events and people that have made a contribution and really has changed the trajectory of our world. Why do you think that's important that we're doing this today? Why is this something that we should be celebrating, and why do you think that everybody should be learning about this? Reyes, Q, Simone?
I guess I'll go first again too. Personally, a lot of the history I learned has been from my mother. She was an activist during the AIDS crisis, and she used to tell me the stories of my uncle, as well as all her other friends who sadly passed away due to AIDS. So all of that history and the history previous to that was learned by my mom, and it was never taught in school. So then when going to school, I didn't think that LGBT people existed besides in my mother's stories. So that's one of the main reasons why I think that we should be able to teach it. And then as well as like Indigenous history. Oftentimes Indigenous history as well as Black and Brown history is interconnected with LGBT history. So it's also important to teach that.
Thank you, Reyes. Simone, what is important to you personally that you'd like to learn about LGBTQ history, or that others learn about it?
Well, I feel like other people learn about like a culture that people don't really talk about because they're uncomfortable talking about it, because like they don't really learn about it. So I feel like it's important to teach people about it, so then they don't feel as uncomfortable and other people feel more welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Simone. And how about you, Q? What do you think what is an important aspect of LGBTQ history that you think other people should know about?
I think that there are two really important reasons why LGBTQ plus history needs to be taught more in schools. The first is that not teaching history in its entirety just isn't correct. More things happened in history than we get taught about in class, and it's not fair to gloss over that. And the second reason is so that students can know that the LGBTQ plus community exists and we're a part of society. Because I think that if students were taught more about the LGBTQ plus community, especially in history class, then we'd be able to more freely express ourselves, and people would be better at supporting each other. I think that students would learn more about the LGBTQ plus community than the stereotypes and misconceptions that they may have picked up. And I think that LGBTQ plus and questioning students would really benefit from learning about other people like us, because positive representation is really important for everyone, especially people in marginalized groups.
Wow, that's really powerful cue. And you know, I want to share with our students and also everybody that's listening that we have some amazing resources to do exactly what you're talking about. We've been working with the Safe Schools Initiative with Rob Darrow and Ron Indra to collaborate to make sure that we are incorporating this important, essential aspects of our history that may not be in our textbooks, that may not be in the traditional kind of core curriculum, and making sure that we are including this information and making it available to our students. And so I'm really proud to be a part of that work, and so grateful to the great work that the Safe School Initiative is doing with us and making this available to our students. And so I'm hoping that you're going to see more and more of this kind of information in your classroom, in each one of your subject areas, to make sure that we are really providing a complete, diverse and inclusive educational learning and educational opportunities for our students. So thank you to each of our students, Reyes, Q, and Simone. We're really grateful for your wonderful conversation today, for your courage in speaking with us, and just so grateful for you participating in our talk today. I'm going to switch gears now and introduce a couple of adults that I get to work with in my role as a county superintendent. And I get to work with a really amazing board, the Board of Education for the county. And two of those people have joined us today, Sandra Nichols and Bruce Van Allen. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, but before I'm going to share a little bit about the important role that they play. They really provide a lot of support to me as a superintendent when it comes to how we spend our resources, how we support school districts, how we make sure that we are supporting students in different programs. And so it's really wonderful to have them be a part of this conversation today, because nothing of what we could do in the County Office of Education can be done without the support of a strong board. And we have a really amazing, wonderful board and great leadership there. And so I'd like to welcome Sandra Nichols and Bruce Van Allen. I'd love it if you could introduce yourselves with your pronouns. Sandra, would you like to go first? You're on mute, Sandra. There. You're still on mute.
Thing. Now you can hear me?
There we go. We can hear you now.
Okay, that's great. Did you want me to introduce myself, or did you want me to talk?
I'd like you to introduce yourself, and then I understand you wanted to share a story with us.
Okay, I'll do that then. And good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to be here. My name is Sandra Nichols, and I'm a trustee on the Santa Cruz County Board of Education. LGBTQ History Month has at its heart building community and highlighting role models. I became an ally years ago. I forgot to say that my pronoun is she, and they if I'm a group. I became an ally years ago when I was present at an event at which one of the dignified speakers, a high-level school administrator, made an off-color remark about a childhood game in which a derogatory term for LGBTQ people was said in public, and laughter broke out in the room as if he had been trying to crack a joke. The laughter in the audience was actually an opportunity not to laugh, but to proclaim. How could you say such a thing? I did a lot of thinking after that happened, and I thought it over and over about how when one hears or sees something inappropriate or mean-spirited that affects another human being, such as a bullying incident, you need to respond in a way to demonstrate that that remark or action was hurtful. And in doing so, one becomes an ally, ready to defend the right of people to be the individual that is their true self. Homeland Security has taken over the buzzwords, see something, say something. But to me, they represent standing up for someone who may not be yet ready, able to stand up for himself or herself. I'm glad to be here and have this opportunity to share this one story with you. And I'm going to pass the microphone over to my colleague and friend, Bruce Van Allen, who will speak next. Bruce is also a trustee on the County Board of Education. So take it away, Bruce Van Allen.
Thank you, Sandra. Bruce, would you mind introducing yourself and your pronouns?
Yes, thank you, Faris. I go by he, him, and really honored to be here today. Thank you, Sandra, for the introduction. To me, what's important about this is partly about meeting the promise of our nation that it was supposedly founded on, which is basically equality for everyone and coming through for everyone. And then also just on a more personal basis, for me throughout my life, the question of sexuality, my sexuality, sexuality of my friends and family and so on, has always been one of those things that I've learned is so basic that if there isn't really freedom and full rights to be oneself and to have one's own story, then no one really has freedom. And the whole enterprise of sexuality is diminished or destroyed. And so it's very personal for me. I was lucky to grow up around people who were openly gay and lesbian. I've been involved in Santa Cruz politics since the 70s and since the early 70s, and did time on the Santa Cruz City Council when we were in the early period, for example, of the local pride parades. And I've been with that history ever since then as an ally. And it's interesting that I guess from the perspective I have now, there's been a little bit of progress, but boy, do we still need to have more progress. And so that's why, to me, LGBTQ plus history has to be included in our educational system, in our curriculum. It has to be celebrated like this month. It has to be recognized and honored because we're still not there yet. And it's kind of like the question of making up for the legacy of our history of slavery and Jim Crow against Black people, or the colonization of this continent and the treatment of immigrants, and all these things together are the part of the unfulfilled promise of our country, and we have a lot of work to do. So we can't just pretend that everything's fine now. We can't pretend we have a colorblind society. We can't depend on that just because maybe there's some slightly better laws that everybody is going to be protected and safe. And so this is everybody's work, and I take this very seriously as a predominantly heterosexual male, that I have a lot of privileges, and I have to put those to use because this is part of my responsibility as well as everyone else's to make sure that our society really is fair and equal to everyone.
Now, Bruce, recently I was going to say, I was going to say recently, you know, the county board did a resolution proclaiming October as LGBTQ plus History Month, and I believe that you were involved in helping to write that proclamation. And so could you tell us a little bit about what that proclamation meant and why I think it's important for us to take the stand?
Yes, thank you. And Sage was good enough to send me a copy so I can actually, I'd like to read part of it, if I may. It's a little long, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but the resolution essentially establishes this month as LGBTQ plus History Month. And that's part of a broad trend, but we're certainly doing it here in Santa Cruz County. And what I was struck by in the draft of the resolution, which was similar to what some other communities were passing, was that it made reference to some national and statewide history of LGBTQ struggles and accomplishments, but it had nothing about Santa Cruz history. And yet, actually, I think it's fair to say Santa Cruz has a pretty central place in some of the major struggles in the last several decades over LGBTQ rights. And so I'd like to read just a couple paragraphs from this resolution that kind of tie it into this. And the resolution started by mentioning one of the heroes of LGBTQ history, Harvey Milk, who was on the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco, was assassinated partly over his LGBTQ politics, or maybe largely because of that. And so it mentioned him. And so I thought, well, let's get local here. So I'm going to read these things. This is sort of formal resolution language. So it says, whereas. And the idea is at the end, all those whereases add up to a, therefore, it's LGBTQ plus History Month. So after acknowledging Harvey Milk, then whereas John Laird was the first openly gay elected official in Santa Cruz County with a distinguished career of public service as a city council member and mayor of Santa Cruz, trustee of Cabrillo College, assembly member representing the Monterey Bay area in the state legislature, and as resources secretary in the administration of Governor Jerry Brown, and continues his leadership today, which I won't mention the exact political part of because this isn't a political event. And whereas numerous local LGBTQ leaders in government, business, and community organizations have helped shape community institutions locally, including in education, offering young LGBTQ plus people of the county inspiration and challenge, sympathy and solace, encouragement and honesty. And whereas local LGBTQ activists over nearly 40 years have persevered to transform, oh, I lost my place, the annual Pride marches from tense rallies needing police and parade monitor protection into one of Santa Cruz's most joyful and beloved community celebrations. And I'll say I've been in every single one of those marches since the 70s. And whereas the local LGBTQ community and its allies rose up to meet the challenge of the AIDS epidemic, helped lead the state and the nation in developing community-based strategies for reducing pain and suffering, and took major roles in statewide resistance to political attacks on people with AIDS, including teachers. There was a statewide ballot measure that would have prohibited anyone with HIV from teaching in public schools, and we defeated that. And all that work despite suffering incredible and unrecoverable losses of people to AIDS. And whereas LGBTQ individuals, continue to make noteworthy and important contributions to American history and society. And whereas the Santa Cruz County Board of Education, which I sit on along with Sandra, supports the rights, freedoms, and equality of those who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, pansexual, and asexual. Well, and it goes on and declares this LGBTQ plus History Month. To me, this is a symbolic statement, but there are sometimes in history when symbols are really important. And that's why, to me, it was important to bring a full resolution to the Board of Education. It was passed unanimously at our last meeting, and everybody on the board, I think, is proud to be part of a county office of education with the leadership of Faris Sabbah, and the kind of community that we get to work in, you know, not without problems, not without struggles, not without unfinished business in this area, but basically a supportive community that I'm proud to be part of. So that was our resolution. And like I said, it passed unanimously last month. So thank you.
Thank you so much for reading that resolution. And thank you both for standing up on behalf of our LGBTQ community, for being allies. And it feels like now more than ever, with some of the kind of dangerous politics that exist in the polarized environment that we're in, that we need to stand up and speak up and really show our support for our community. And I think I felt really proud when the county board put together this resolution. And I feel like this kind of event and our ability to continue to learn, to connect, and to grow together and making these opportunities available to all our community is so important. So thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for the support that you show every single day. Just proud to be a part of this organization and the work that's getting done. Thank you so much, Sandra and Bruce, for everything that you do and for your leadership. And we talked about one of the amazing folks that you heard the words John Laird, one of the first openly gay person to be elected in California. We have some amazing people, amazing leaders in Santa Cruz County, and it's just such an honor to have those people here with us. And I'm thinking of people like Adam Spickler, first transgender person elected to public office in the United States, I believe. John Laird, first openly gay elected official. We have these amazing, inspiring leaders here in our community and here on this call, on this Zoom meeting. And so it's really inspiring to be able to have you join us, to be with us and to share your stories. I'm going to introduce three different people that are folks that I get to work with and have done and continue to do amazing work in our community. And we're going to start with John Laird, but I'm also going to ask Zach Friend and Papo Estrada to introduce themselves. But John, could you start us off? I do want to say a few things about you before you start, which is just that as somebody who has dedicated their life to public service, he is somebody that I have been so inspired by, and somebody that was very encouraging to me as I got into this position as a county superintendent. Somebody who has fought for the rights of our LGBTQ community, to protect our environment, to help the folks that are marginalized and disenfranchised in our society. And so it's really an honor to welcome John Laird to speak with us today. Welcome, John.
Well, thank you, Faris. It's great to be with you today. And thank you to Bruce and Sandra. Thank you, Bruce, for teeing this next one up very well. And I'm happy to share this time with Papo. And I have a sneaking suspicion the baby in the background was Papo not muting. And because I'm on this with Papo and Zach Friend. And I thought maybe I'd tee this off because one of the questions was, what's important about history? Why is history important? And I think I can then turn to two elected officials now in what they're doing. And it was very interesting hearing the students at the beginning because I've just lived long enough to see fundamental change. And when I was in college, it was against the law to be gay in all 50 states. Stonewall happened after my first year in college. Santa Cruz County in 1975 was the first county in the United States to protect non-discrimination for employees based on sexual orientation. I had just become an employee at the time. And when I was elected to the city council in 1981, there might have been 10 out officials in the country. As Faris said, when I was elected mayor in 1983, there were 3 of us that year that were the first openly gay mayors in the history of the United States. And in 1985, 15 of us started the national network and association of LGBT officials. And there were just 15 of us in the entire country. And that's even misleading because 3 were from Minneapolis, St. Paul, 3 were from Madison, 3 were from West Hollywood, 2 were from San Francisco, and 4 or 5 of us were from other parts of the country. And it was tough. It was considered a real liability to be in public life and be clear about who you were. But it was very important because it would inspire more people to be clear. Harvey Milk always said that he was speaking to that kid in Altoona, Pennsylvania, that nobody reached to, that felt like he was all alone in the world. And I know I got to speak at the 5th annual Milk Moscone Candlelight March right after I was elected mayor, 5 years after Harvey Milk was assassinated. And I sort of said, because we had the 3 mayors elected, that we had the first returns from Altoona because we were all stepping up and we were doing that. And then I ran an AIDS service agency during the height of the epidemic. 6 of us that were gay men, 3 men of color, 3 not, started that organization in the mid-1980s to make sure that there was a response. Mark Leno and I were the first 2 openly gay guys elected to the state assembly. And it's very exciting as I might embark on something else that, as Bruce said, cannot be spoken about, that I will not be the first. There will be other firsts that will have gotten there if I do the next thing that I am trying to do. So it is so important today with everybody on this call to look back. I have to say one political comment. I mean, if we can't 50 years after the Civil Rights Bill have a president that can denounce white supremacists on nationwide TV, it tells us that we have to renew that commitment all the time, that it is never totally won, that is all of us making sure we do it. And so that's why it's significant that we're all here today. That's why it's significant that we speak out. That's why I salute Faris for organizing this. And I have to confess, in what I'm doing in my other part of my life now, I'm interacting with 4 county superintendents, and I have a lot of fun telling them what's going on in Santa Cruz County. because sometimes they go, really? So now I have another thing. The next time I'm talking to that guy in San Luis Obispo, I'm going to say, you're not going to believe what they just did in Santa Cruz. So just thank you for doing this. Thanks for having me here. And thanks for just shining a light on this so that we can mark our progress and know we always have to defend it and just look to the future. So Faris, thanks for having me here too.
John, thank you so much. And thank you for your leadership, your inspiring leadership. I think you are somebody who has been a pioneer in so many ways, and just appreciative and an honor to have you here. I'd like to invite Zach Friend. And Zach he is one of our county supervisors and somebody who is also a strong ally on behalf of our LGBTQ plus community. An honor to have you join us today, Supervisor. Welcome.
Thank you, Faris, and thank you, Secretary Laird, for that, as always, on-point commentary. As Bruce had mentioned earlier, I think that we sometimes forget about how lucky we are to have some of these remarkable people locally. And I think that this is why this is so important. I think there's two things to focus on here. One, at a national level, we really feel this sort of sense of despair, that a sense of greater hopelessness about what's going on. But at the local level, we've really been driving a sense of equality and a sense of equity in a way that many other communities have not. And I feel a significant sense of hope about what's possible here. And I think that it's important to always double down on the local level about what's possible, because some of the things that Secretary Laird was a pioneer of have become state and national policy. And for all the students that are on here, and it's an unbelievably inspiring number of you that are, just think about the fact of that you have agency now. There's a lot of commentary about, you're our future. No, you're our now. I mean, your agency is now, and you have the ability to drive, especially at the local level, to push us to a better place and allow us to try and drive that up to where it needs to be at a national level. But at a minimum, we can improve our community and make it a better place here. The second part is that a lot of times when we look at a history month, you kind of think about something way in the past. I mean, as though we're living in a time but as Secretary Laird was mentioning, I mean, these changes are really recent. I mean, if you think about some of the most recent Supreme Court decisions just during President Obama's term that fundamentally shifted and shaped the way that we look at equality in this country. So for those that are participating in the Zoom meeting, I also want you to think about how you can shape history, because there's a lot that still needs to be done. And there's the attitude is right for it right now. It's not just moving toward a greater justice. We're actually in a situation right now where we are in the middle of these policy discussions at the local, state, and national level to pull us to that greater equity. And I'm just excited to think about those students here in our local system that are willing to participate in that discussion and push us to do that. So don't look at the History Month as some sort of time in the ancient past, like we're studying the Revolutionary War or something. What we're actually studying are the decisions that are being made contemporaneously with what you're doing. And with your agency now, I'm excited to think about what we can do together. Faris, again, thanks for letting me be on, especially to share the stage with all these students who are just so remarkable. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Zach, and for your leadership and for what you do throughout our county and in support of our students and our community. I want to introduce somebody who is somebody who I've known for a long time, since he was a young man, actually in middle school, and it's one of those wonderful connections, because this young man also represents a role model for me. And he's somebody whose family I got to work with when I was a teacher. I got to work with him as a teacher and as an instructional aide. And he really is somebody who's such an inspiration and brought such wonderful energy, as he is currently the city council member in Watsonville of the city of Watsonville. He's a former mayor. Welcome, Papo Estrada.
Thank you, Faris. It's an honor to be here. My name is, as you said, Francisco Paco Estrada, but I prefer the Paco. Francisco is just really the first time we meet, and then we can go from there. One little detail you forgot to add, Faris, that you were in my junior year at Aptos High. the vice principal, and you had an amazing system for attendance. And because of you, because of how efficient you were at your job, you sent me to 2 Saturday schools. So, you know.
Don't hold that against me, Paco,
no,
please.
No. But, you know, you were always, we always knew you were going to be a shining star for the community, and you were going to go far in life, and you've only really proving us right, you know. So I appreciate everything you've done, and I appreciate going after Zach and John. They're honestly the two funniest politicians I think I've met so far. I love them. They're always roasting me, but they do it with heart, and they do it because I think they want me to be successful. So I've always appreciated that from both of them. But before I joined politics, I was a history teacher, and adjunct instructor at Harnell, and I loved it. You know, I loved history since I was 7, 8 years old. I was checking out World War II history books, and as I teach at Harnell, I really appreciate that Harnell has a sort of a focus on equity and a focus on really telling the stories and the narratives of the people from below. You know, the people that traditionally we don't hear their stories in our history classes growing up. And so the way I've always seen things is that, our founding fathers gave us this sort of imperfect framework. They gave us this really imperfect idea and this really imperfect language, without giving us true equality, true justice, or true democracy. And so really the theme of my classes in these history classes is to sort of give recognition, to bear witness the people that have given this country true democracy. Democracy has been the work of the people. And, we look at the abolitionists and we look at the women's suffrage movement, and rightfully so, along with these important figures in US history, we look at the LGBTQ plus community. And the one thing that you sort of realize is that their struggle is really my struggle. We're in this together, and when we fight for LGBTQ plus rights, you're fighting for your own rights. You're fighting for human rights. You're really fighting to elevate everyone's voice. And so, as a member of council, I took that as a sort of a responsibility that I had to carry with me, and to really elevate these voices anytime I could. So whenever the QSA club at Lakeview invited me, or whenever there was an event at Watsonville High, or when the Diversity Center invited me to their fundraising event, I was there. I had to be there, and I had to represent the city and the community of Watsonville. And then, as a person of color, sometimes there's sort of a double sort of consciousness there. And that, I grew up in a very conservative Catholic family that really, if you came out to your parents, you potentially could be disowned. You could no longer have a place with your family. And so, I want to change that. I want to make my community, my culture, as inclusive as possible. And I've seen great strides. My parents are just an example of the progress that has been made. And I'm grateful for having them teach me about hard work, open-mindedness, and as I said, as long as I'm in this position of privilege, and I will do my best to sort of elevate the fight and to be an ally in any way I can to the LGBTQ plus community. So thank you again for Faris for inviting me. Thank you to all the students and everybody who's been here. And adelante.
Muchísimas gracias, Francisco. Thank you so much for your words. I was thinking about, as I was looking at the three of you and kind of different generations of folks, kind of multi-generational conversation. Zach is obviously a little bit older than I am, but we're kind of from that same generation. And just kidding there, Zach. But I think about what we are learning from each other, both from our youth and from the adults, and who have brought this multi-generational experience. And it does, I really have to agree with what you've all said, which is that we stand on the shoulders of giants that have really paved the way for for all of us in so many different ways. And this struggle for civil rights, this struggle for dignity is one that cuts across all generations. It cuts across our ethnicities, our races. It cuts across in so many different ways in terms of our identities. And so thank you for reminding us about how important this and ongoing, and how relevant it is today, how recent some of these achievements have been, and some of these steps backwards have been as a result of some of the things that are happening lately. And so I applaud you for your work in the community and as elected officials. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for speaking on behalf of our LGBTQ community. Now that we've done speaking to some of our adults, we're going to be switching back to speaking to our students. And who better to talk to us about what inspires them? Who better to talk to us about LGBTQ history than students to tell us about who are their inspirations? And I'm going to invite two students who I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves with their pronouns and to tell us a little bit about what an important person, who is somebody in history that has really inspired them or has been relevant to them. I'm going to ask Scarlett to join us. Scarlett? Are you there, Scarlett? Maybe Scarlett is not on the line. How about Brooke? Oh, Scarlett, are you there?
Yeah.
Hi, Scarlett.
Hi.
You may need to speak up a little bit. Please introduce yourself with your pronouns and share with us an important person in history, in LGBTQ history, that you'd like to talk to us about.
My name's Scarlett. My pronouns are she, they. And I wanted to share about Martha P. Johnson. I made a slide about it, yeah. So Martha P. Johnson was born on August 24th, 1945 in New Jersey. She started wearing dresses at age 5, but was harassed, so she decided to stop. She moved to New York City so that she could be free to be herself. And on June 28, 1970, attended her first Pride March. Identified as a drag queen, so was kept from marching in the parade, and she fought back. Formed the Street Action Revolutionaries, and her bravery and confidence is something that we celebrate.
Wonderful. Now, Scarlett, why did you choose Marsha P. Johnson as the person you wanted to highlight with us today?
Because her self-confidence about herself and her not caring what other people thought of her and being proud of who she was is something that we should all know about her and remember, and something that we should all try to appreciate ourselves, that somebody stood up and was proud of who they were.
Wonderful. And are you planning on learning about more and more people from our LGBTQ history this month as part of our challenge?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I hope to learn a lot about new people in history. You know, I was a history teacher, and I have to say that a lot of this stuff that I've learned, you know, has been outside of the traditional textbooks, right? We, in many cases, have to find this information, share this information with each other, and make it available and present to students. So thank you so much for sharing what you've learned about Marsha P. Johnson. I want to ask Brooke to join us, and I think Brooke has, if you could introduce yourself with your pronouns and tell us about somebody that you've been learning about.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brooke. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior at San Lorenzo Valley High School. The person I chose was Sappho. She lived about 630 to 570 BC. She was a very well-known poet in her time. She was even thought of as Homer's counterpart, the poetess, and the 10th muse. The word sapphic is derived from her name, and it means basically a woman who loves other women. And the word lesbian was from her homeland, the island of Lesbos. while her sexuality is debated today, she definitely did write a lot of poems about loving women. Many of them were destroyed, unfortunately, but some scraps still remain. I think it's really important to know about Sappho in particular because, sorry, my cat. I think it's important to understand that LGBTQ people have always existed and that it's not just a new fad to be LGBTQ in some way. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brooke, for sharing. What is when you're looking at you going to be participating in our challenge this month to learn about a different person every day?
Yeah.
Is there who else are you hoping to learn about? What other role models that you know about from history that you're looking forward to learning about?
I would like to learn about some new individuals. I know a bit about LGBTQ history from school. Last year, my teacher, Miss Salito, was really good about teaching us queer history, and I want to learn about new people that I haven't heard about yet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Scarlett and Brooke, I just want to thank you so much for sharing a little bit, because you're kind of introducing us to what the challenge is going to be about, because we're going to be spending this whole month learning about different people in history, and we're going to give people some ideas of who they could learn about, but there's so many people. It's 31 days in this month is not enough. We would need years and years to be able to really understand how these amazing individuals in our history, and many times folks that we knew about their contributions, but we didn't know about this aspect of their identity or their orientation. And so it's really exciting that we're learning more and more about folks, and I couldn't think of better people to share this information with us and to share the research that you've been doing on these famous folks. So thank you so much for joining us today and presenting to us what you've been learning. And you both mentioned, you were talking about what you've been learning in class and what's happening. And I think that one of the exciting things that's taking place in our schools is that with work from the Diversity Center and with the Safe Schools Initiative and these kinds of organizations, and just the voices of students rising up and saying, we want to get an inclusive educational experience. Teachers are infusing more and more diversity and richness in the curriculum. And I think that it's really exciting. We have a teacher that is going to be joining us, two educators, in fact. Alicia Guzman, who is a teacher from Santa Cruz High School, and Celeste Gutierrez, who is a leader, an educational leader supporting student leadership. And so I'm really excited to welcome Alicia Guzman, who's a teacher from Santa Cruz High School. I'm going to ask you, please, Alicia or Ms. Guzman, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself with your pronouns, and tell us a little bit about what you've been learning and what you've been teaching. What kind of learning opportunities you've made available to your students in your classroom. Ms. Guzman?
Hi, everyone. Alicia Guzman. She, hers are my pronouns. And, super exciting to be here and just to be taking all of this in. So yeah, as Faris mentioned, I teach at Santa Cruz High School. And I first want to address why it is so important. And it really echoes a lot of what the students are saying. Queer youth suffer much higher rates of depression, of bullying, of substance abuse. And a lot of that can be tied to how they're treated at school or the education they're getting at school. And I think we can all agree that representation matters. It really does. And it's really important that my queer students feel seen in their curriculum, especially in this, heteronormative world. And curriculum can also be very, very heteronormative and exclusive. And I think it's really important to show all students the contributions of LGBT Americans, as well as the struggles that they've gone through, as well as the accomplishments. And we have come quite a far way, but obviously still a lot of work to do. So I want to support my students and teach a more inclusive curriculum, and incorporate those stories that are often left out. And we do that I do that in my classroom, by talking about the Harlem Renaissance. And there's a bunch of LGBT artists that really thrived during that time, but that was often left out of their stories. Going to the Lavender Scare in the 50s, where it was illegal for the federal government to employ any homosexuals because they were deemed as security risks, which is something my students are often very shocked to learn about. As well as then getting into Stonewall, or even going back to World War II, where soldiers were getting discharged for being gay, and which really kind of sparks a lot of the movement for gay civil rights in the United States. So I incorporate that as much as I can, and it's been really nice to get feedback from students who feel seen in the curriculum for the first time, or have queer family members and their stories get to be told for the first time. But I also think it's just as important for straight students to learn these stories and to see the contributions of queer Americans, as well as the struggles of queer Americans and accomplishments. And I think it leads to a more empathetic and understanding and respectful classroom experience. But I think that also translates itself, out into the world as well. And I think we could all agree that having some more compassion and understanding and respect for others is something we could all use a little more of these days. And so I'm, doing my best. And, these kids inspire me so much, even just in my lifetime, to see how much further we've come is really inspiring. And some of the legislation that we've seen, the FAIR Act and the new framework. I'm actually piloting a new textbook right now that includes LGBT history and Indigenous Americans, and is a much better version than these very, whitewashed and exclusive textbooks that we're used to. So I'm seeing the progress. It is happening, and I'm so appreciative of everyone here that's doing their part to help.
Ms. Guzman, I wanted to ask you, you're a history teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so are there ways that we can incorporate the contributions of our LGBTQ community in classes and subjects outside of history?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. So a few years ago, when I worked on the cohort where we were developing LGBT history in classes, that was one of the big questions, right? Because in history, it's pretty obvious. But when it comes to other subjects, when it comes to like music, teaching and playing music developed by queer artists, in science, there are amazing accomplished queer scientists that you should be reading about. Or mathematicians, or, you can study data and graphs of, various topics that impact queer Americans throughout history or even in our modern day. English obviously lends itself very well to it as well. So there are ways to do it. You just maybe have to think a little outside of the box, but it can be incorporated in all subjects, definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about how you're transforming your classroom and how other teachers can do the same and bring this inclusive curriculum and this wider understanding of both our history and all of these other subject areas to the forefront for our students. Thank you so much, Ms. Guzman. I'm going to ask Celeste Gutierrez, who is a coordinator with the County Office of Education. Her responsibility is to work with students, to uplift students' voices, to encourage them to participate in leadership activities. And I'm hoping that Celeste could talk to us a little bit about some of the work that is being done in youth leadership, specifically for LGBTQ plus students. Celeste, could you talk to us? Please introduce yourself with your pronouns and tell us a little bit about the work that is happening in Santa Cruz County.
Yeah, thank you, Faris. Like you mentioned, I'm Celeste Gutierrez. I use the pronouns she, her, and I'm super excited to announce that the Santa Cruz County Office of Education Alliance for Youth Action will be partnering with the Queer and Trans Youth Council of Santa Cruz County. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the leadership of Stuart Rosenstein and Jamie Cutter. And this partnership occurred really because Rob Darrow put me in touch with Stuart, and we had a really awesome conversation, and their values, the Queer and Trans Youth Council values and the COE values aligned, and I've been super excited ever since then. And the Alliance is really a multidisciplinary alliance between various student leadership groups throughout Santa Cruz County to share ideas, learn new skills, and support one another's initiatives. And I would say probably the reason I'm most excited to be partnering with the Queer and Trans Youth Council is that really we're going to be creating systemic change that is youth driven, while looking at what conditions need to be changed to allow our LGBTQ plus students to thrive in Santa Cruz County. And I think it's most important to have youth, LGBTQ youth represented in positions of leadership as it allows them the opportunity to flourish, and most importantly, to be represented. As we heard from various people today, that representation is key. And when you're a young person and you have somebody in your community or in a position of power, you know, the likelihood of you then seeing yourself in that same position just increases exponentially.
Thank you so much, Celeste. You know, as you know, one of the most exciting aspects of those of us that are in education is that direct contact with students and being able to work with them and to listen to them, to learn from them. What is the what is the goal of the initiative for this alliance? What are we hoping to accomplish? What are we hoping that our students are going to get out of it, and what are we hoping that they're going to be able to achieve?
So the purpose and what we're hoping that they'll achieve is there's different youth groups. So for example, the Queer and Trans Youth Council is one of them. The Youth for Environmental Action is another one. And we're in the process of creating several other ones. And the real purpose is for them to be able to come together, support one another, and really learn how the different systems here in Santa Cruz County work with one another and what they can do to start changing things from whether it be like, oh, we need to have different curriculum in our classroom that incorporates LGBTQ representation, whether it be in science, math, English, history, obviously, or if it's like, I know a student mentioned earlier about the bathrooms, like that's a thing. And the fact that that's still a thing now, like to me, I'm like, really, it's 2020. So those types of things, or if there's like a student who's like, you know, has experienced hate bias at their school, perhaps, but like learning the skills and gaining the confidence to be able to present to their school board to be like, hey, you know, I would really like for my school to have some sort of like hate bias training so that things can start to change at a real systemic level.
Thank you so much, Celeste. We're really excited about this initiative at the County Office of Education, different areas of focus for different students. But it's all at its core, the opportunity for students to think about what change they want to achieve, and just providing them some support to do that, and then getting out of the way so that students are able to transform the world as we know that they can and deserve to do. So thank you both for the great work that you're doing. Celeste, it sounds like you want to add one more thing.
Totally forgot to mention this, and I just remembered right now. To stay most up to date, I work with a bunch of teenagers, right? So I would say to stay the most up to date as to what we're doing, follow us on Instagram, and it's SCC Student Leadership, and I'm going to put it in the chat as well, and that's where you'll most up to date, like minute to minute update. Thank you, Sage.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. Very excited about the work that's getting done, and social media is one place that we can get a lot of information about the different things that the young people are focusing on and our students are achieving. And so I'd like to start switching the conversation now to the challenge, which is what we're really focusing on this year, because we didn't want to just do a single event. We didn't want to just say that this is LGBTQ plus History Month and walk away from it and hope that people are gonna participate in learning. We wanted to create an opportunity for folks to continue thinking about this, so that there was a longer sense of commitment to this, to learning and understanding. And so this challenge really is a call to everybody who is listening, everybody in the community, to think about who are these amazing people in history who have impacted our lives, even though we didn't know it. Or we knew about them, but we didn't know about their connection or part of the LGBTQ plus community. And so I'm gonna ask Sage to join me. So Sage Levinson, who is somebody that I get to work with every day. Sage works in my office. They are an amazing advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, and somebody who has helped been the architect with Rob Darrow, the architects of this event and this challenge. And so I'm going to ask Sage to join us and to talk to us a little bit about this wonderful history challenge, LGBTQ plus history challenge that we are launching today. Sage?
Hi, everybody. My pronouns are he, they today. My name's Sage. And yes, I'm super excited about the LGBT History Challenge. So this is an opportunity that we'd like to invite you all to join us on to study some people and events in US and Santa Cruz history. Some of those folks on our proposed list of people to study are here with us today, which is really, really exciting. But as Faris mentioned earlier, there's so many events and people in history that are worth studying, remembering, and celebrating. So while we're putting forth this list of 31 people as a starting place, we encourage you to, make this list and this opportunity and this challenge work for you as an opportunity to study people who and events that are important to you. However, we're putting this forward as well because something that we want to do to really keep us all engaged in this challenge is that we are going to have a fun game of trivia on Friday, October 30th, as a way to come back together and discover what we've learned. And so I just wanted to share a link that we have created on this webpage that will actually host a lot of this information. Throughout the month, we're going to be dropping back in. We've created a Padlet and putting some more information about some of the folks that we're going to be studying together. I'd like to ask my co-facilitator, Rob Darrow, if I'm forgetting anything that we might want to mention here.
No, I think the exciting part is that we've got a challenge. So are you ready to take the challenge? And Alicia, what are you going to do with the challenge?
Well, I am obviously going to encourage everyone to participate. And nowadays, it's so easy to do research, on our phones. Could just, do a, hey Siri, tell me about Bayard Rustin. My phone's gonna go off now. And Siri can bring up a page and tell you all about Bayard. And, and then click on some videos and click on some links. Look at Ma Rainey, listen to some of her songs and really appreciate these amazing individuals that contributed so much to this country and to the world. So, it's easier than ever to do research these days, and there's so many wonderful people to learn about. Even if you just make it part of your routine, like, every night before bed, hey, let me look up one of these people real quick. I think you'll be very happy to learn more about these people.
I heard from the Santa Cruz City School Superintendent, Chris, that she's going to challenge all the students in Santa Cruz City Schools to this challenge.
Right on. That's wonderful.
And if you haven't been to the Santa Cruz MA website, there's all the history of our local people. And, Adam Spickler, who's here with us, put something in the chat. You could contact him directly to learn the history directly from him, since he's one of the people on the challenge list. So we've got lots of local history and other history that we hope everybody will participate. And then we've got this game at the end, October 30th, that you can all come back and play.
I'd like to ask Adam to join us and tell us a little bit. Adam, could you join us for just a moment and tell us a little bit about what you think about this challenge? It's so amazing to have you as part of our audience and part of our community, and also be one of the amazing people that we are studying as part of this history challenge.
Thanks, Faris. Thanks. This is just so incredible. What I think about this challenge, I think that there are a lot of people who take leadership roles, even if they're not seen as a leader. And I would want to encourage everyone here who's going to participate in the challenge to think about that. And I want to say something else too. I think in some ways it's going to be really important to capture a few allies and some work that they've done. Allies have been so fundamentally important in all of our movements, and we're all going to find there are people who took incredible risks as an ally to the LGBT community, and we want to highlight those stories, and also how very important it is to look at folks in the LGBTQ plus community who have a story to tell, have something about them that they've done, they've taken a risk. That's the thing there, I think. It's somebody who's taken a risk to move forward in some way LGBTQ rights to make the world a better place for everyone. And the opportunities we have to tell these stories, it's weaving the fabric that Rob was such a fundamental part of putting together the LGBTQ history that's at the MA. It's just so important. And I have some funny, silly stories. I have some other stories of things that I've done that I think people would go, oh my gosh, I had heard that Planned Parenthood had that in place. I didn't know that was you, Adam. You know, those kinds of things. And I don't know if that's captured anywhere, but I'd love to tell people about it. So feel free to hit me up.
Well, when we do Adam, thank you so much because your leadership and talk about a pioneer of this generation. You are absolutely amazing, and I think that if you were to tell us some of those stories, we can include them in our trivia questions, and so that could be part of our challenge. So you can make it, a part of what we're going to be learning about. And thank you for joining us today, and thank you for fighting on behalf of our LGBTQ community today and always.
You bet. Thanks, Faris.
And so as we do have a hashtag that we want to share with you that we are using, and we're going to put it in the chat box. If I'm going to ask Sage to put it in the chat box, which is the hashtag is LGBTQ History Challenge. And so if you are participating in any of social media, we ask that you use this hashtag. And we're also going to be sharing an image, right, Sage? We're going to be sharing an image that we're going to make available to you if you want to put that in any of your social media posts. And so we want to make sure that we want to get the word out. As you know, when it comes to social change, many times it's not the people that are already on board with a movement. It's the people that are don't know enough or are working against that movement. And so the idea is not only to talk to folks and to share this information with people who kind of like-minded individuals. It's really about embracing everybody and helping to create this information, to build more allies, to really show our love for the LGBTQ communities continues to grow, and our support and our advocacy for dignity and rights are as important to us and resonate with us, not only as individuals, but also as organizations. And I'm so proud that the County Office of Education has really taken to heart our commitment to supporting our LGBTQ community and making sure that our students are living in, are experiencing safe spaces. I know that if our students who are in Miss Guzman's class, what they're getting in that experience is somebody who is supporting, loving them, and accepting them, and allowing them to bring all of themselves, their true selves, to that classroom. And that's what we want to have for every student in every classroom across our county, across this country. And so it's really, that's what this is about. It's about making sure that we make this information, which is relevant and important, but also recognize that we no longer can support systems and structures that are inequitable, that are silencing our community and turning and sending the message that some people are not accepted or not part of our society. We want to do the opposite, and that's what this challenge is really about. And so I want to just share a little bit of more information in terms of the dates, because we do have an important date coming up, which is at the end of the month, because what we're hoping to do is for people every day to learn about a different event or a different person. And then we're going to have a culminating event at the end of this month where we're going to be having a kind of a trivia event that will also be kind of a celebration. And so Sage, you want to tell us a little bit about what to expect at the end of the month?
Yes, absolutely. So everybody who has joined us today is going to be emailed with another invitation to just come back together for an hour on October 30th for a game of trivia based on sort of some of the things we have put here in our list of 31 people and places to study. There are going to be prizes. I won't say what they are, but there are going to be prizes for the winners. So we hope you'll join us, and we hope that more importantly than anything, that you just enjoy this opportunity to learn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that information, Sage. Thank you, Rob Darrow and Sage Levinson, for helping to build this amazing event. I'd like to thank Alicia Guzman, our students who are part of this, who did an amazing job, Scarlett and Brooke, and of course, Q, Reyes, and Simone. I want to thank our trustees, Sandra Nichols and Bruce Van Allen, and our electeds or former electeds, Zach Friend, Paco Estrada, and John Laird, and of course Celeste Gutierrez, and I already thanked Miss Alicia Guzman. And so just a huge thank you also to Sharon Papo for joining us and welcoming us today. We're going to continue to send out information. We encourage you to be a part of the challenge. We also have some amazing events that are coming up that we'd love for you to be a part of. And I do also want to ask Jen. Jen, are you on the line to make an announcement?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful, Jen. I don't see you, but I can hear you. So go ahead, Jen.
I'm the one with the rainbow behind my head. Hi, everybody. I'm Jen.
And can I just do a quick introduction, Jen? Because so Jen Salinas Holzman is a teacher and educator at Watsonville Charter School of the Arts and also at Alianza, and has been a counselor for what is the right word? A mentor for the GSA at those schools, and has been done wonderful work to create safe environments for our students at Watsonville Charter School of the Arts and Alianza and other schools in the Baja Valley Unified School District. And my son had a chance to be in her club, and it's just wonderful working with you, and thank you for all the great work that you're doing. And you want to share a little bit about an event that's going on, right?
Yes, thank you. I actually work for the technology department for PBUSD, and I am very fortunate to get to advise 4 different QSA and GSA clubs. One is at an elementary school. I'm at Lakeview Middle School, Watsonville Charter School of the Arts, and Alianza Charter School. And I am working with the Safe Schools Project and Trans Families of Santa Cruz to present a parent summit. So I see that we have a slide here for the Youth Summit at the same time, Saturday, October 10th, from 12 to 3:15. We are presenting an Understanding Gender Summit for parents, educators, and adult allies. Everybody here is welcome to attend. We would welcome you all. And it's bilingual. We're very, very excited. We have a Spanish-speaking presenter this time around. She is a mom of a trans daughter who I've met at the Gender Spectrum Conference. She's amazing. She's a Mexican immigrant. She has a really great perspective, and she's going to be doing a workshop in Spanish. So if you know any Spanish-speaking families who are interested in learning more about gender and supporting gender diverse youth, please send them. Please, all of you sign up. I put the links in the chat, and we welcome everyone. So spread the word. Saturday, October 10th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen, and thank you for all that you do for our LGBTQ community and students. We have some other events that are taking place, including our 2020 Queer Youth Leadership Awards, taking place same day, October 10th, in the evening at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. You can register at a link that is there, the sccoe.link/LGBTQ. And so lots of wonderful events that are taking place. And we encourage you to continue to learn about because there are so many great opportunities for youth and for parents and allies to learn about and support our community. And we just need to get people connected. And so we want to make sure that you know what's going on and that you make these opportunities available to our youth and to our families. And with, I think I'm about to close us up. Sage and Rob, is there anything else that we need to announce?
Nope, we just hope that you join us in our month-long challenge.
Yes, please take the challenge, embrace it, participate in it, and then join us at the end of the month as we do our trivia event. And we just want to thank you for joining us today. And thank you for everything that you do to support our LGBTQ youth and our community. It's been great to be your host today, and look forward to seeing you a month from today. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
You.
Thank you.